Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are tuned in to the Vitamin D with Dawn Dai podcast, and I am your host, Dawn Dai, here to get you excited about your life so that you can live life on purpose and for a purpose. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. Vitamin D, it's a pun of my name. My name is Dawn, and you get vitamin D from the sun, so I'm here to shed light into your life. And I do this with inspirational insights and conversations with celebrities and everyday people like you and me. Because if you want to be better and you want to do better, then you're going to have to be able to see better. So join me on this journey of living our best lives and understanding and realizing how you are your greatest asset. All right. We are back. Vitamin D with Dawn Dai. Oh man, it's been a minute. How you doing? Happy New Year. I got a motto. 2022 is for you. 2022 is for you. You know, I was saying last year, I was like, abundance. And I said, not just for 2021, I said for my life. So we going into abundance, exceedingly beyond. We're taking that now, okay? And you know what else I said for 2022? I said I'm making room. You know, I've been in this whole kick about seeing Dawn in 360 angles, you know. Vitamin D is all about shedding light. So I said, I got to shed the light on myself, and I can't just see it from one view. I need to look from the side, from the other side, from the back to the front, every whichever angle. Because what do I say? If you want to be better and you want to do better, you have to be able to see better. So I'm excited about what this looks like. I'm excited. I will say this. A lot of people have been asking, they say, Dawn, how you doing? They're looking at me on social media. My skin is glowing, it's popping, I know. But I'm working my butt off. I'm working out, and I think it's the sweating, and also I am so adamant on my skincare. But in this process, you know, I've been continuing working out, and I might say I'm looking good, and I'm feeling good. That process is strenuous. It's hard. It's taxing. And even in that, it's like I'm tearing my body down to build it back up. So I'm doing a lot of that work on the inside too. So people are like, Dawn, how are you? I'm like, I'm growing because I'm laughing and I'm crying. You know, you ask God to grow and it starts raining. That is what's happening for me. Because I told you, we claim abundance and we making room for that. Because when that abundance come, I got to have it to go into overflow. And I'm going exceedingly and beyond. What are you calling forth, honey? What is it? We got to make sure that we make a plan of action this year. We don't have time to waste. We got to live right now in the present. We want to continue what I've said before in a previous episode about yes and, which I'm excited about to get back into my groundlings. And if you know me, you know how dear and sincere the groundlings is to me as far as my dreams, helping me manifest what I'm doing right here on this podcast, the game shows, the voiceovers. I mean, everything. It is truly a gift that keeps on giving to myself. So I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to talk to some of the exciting guests. I'm glad for the new pictures that's coming up. I'm happy about my new look. My locks are swinging. They say these things thanging right now. So we got growth here. It's all around. So we're going for a new look and we jumping in and we excited, you know?
Get your vitamin D right here with me and get excited about your life.
I couldn't help but check out some stories in the news. You know, I love to talk about what's happening, what's going on, and shedding light on different situations, okay? As we talk about stepping into this new thing, the old abundance, did you hear about the brain trip Elon Musk is talking about? Okay, it's called Neuralink. And basically, it is a brain chip that can allow living beings, i.e. like you and me, to communicate with machines. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's happening. You know, all the stuff that we hear about iRobot and all the movies and stuff, it's happening right now. Okay, now, this is nothing that's too far left because he's already done this with monkeys. You know, there was a monkey playing the video game Pong, you know, like ping pong, and like was communicating like with the game. So it's not about like, can it happen or if it's happening, because it is happening. And I'll tell you why, because they're now hiring a clinical trials director. Yeah. And in the job posting, it says that the clinical trial director will work closely with some of the most innovative doctors and top engineers, as well as working with Neuralink's first clinical trial participants, meaning they're looking for people. Would you sign up for it? Now, in case you're wondering, there was an article. It was in 2019, there was a paper written by Neuralink researchers that described a brain-computer interface that used an array of small and flexible electrode threads, as you could say, that are surgically implanted into the brain by a robot. Now, the size of it is about a coin. And apparently, they'll replace this size piece with your skull without causing any lasting damage to the brain. Now, see, this is tricky. Why did they say lasting damage? I'm just saying, listen, it's always in the details, right? Now, they're saying that they're expected to start some human trials to be taking place actually this year, 2022. Now, you know how they say, like, we're connected to our technology? I think this is going to another level. So if you're leery about this whole situation, let me tell you about some things that people are looking at the bright side about it, okay? One thing that they're saying, or a few things that they're saying that this brain chip can treat are people with brain disorders, diseases, and paralysis. I mean, because if you think about it, our brain is the connection source. It communicates to every part of our body. It tells one thing to do the next thing and so forth. So I guess there's some disruption in communication, and Elon Musk is like, okay, let's get these electrodes or whatever and connect things to the body part. Now, one thing he says is that it will not, quote, solve important brain and spine problems with a seamlessly implanted device. And he says the potential is almost limitless. I mean, think about it. If I can imagine for somebody, you know, I've heard before when I was in high school, like players would be out there, get hit the wrong way, immediately paralysis, get in a car accident, paralysis. Your whole trajectory of your life has changed. Imagine for somebody like this can be a new life. This can be another opportunity. This can be their second chance. Back in 2020, he had a company presentation, and Elon Musk said that you could also solve blindness, you could solve paralysis, you could solve hearing. So along with paralysis, we have hearing and blindness. For somebody that can immediately judge, what do you say to somebody who has never been able to see or who had once had sight but had lost it? What about to your baby that was born deaf? Now you can provide them with hearing. See, I think oftentimes when we're born and we're okay with these things, or I should say we don't have any handicaps, you don't think about these things because it's part of our everyday life. But what if you were that person or somebody that was affected? This is another chance for you. Another thing now this is where I will say, I want to fizz with this one. I guess there's talks of a possibility of being able to save and replay memories. So it's like a next step from our phone. So instead of having to go to the phone, you can replay the memories. And I'm not done yet. Can you imagine streaming music from your brain? I can't recall what this movie was, but I was watching this movie. God, dog, what's the name of this movie? Oh, right. Let me describe the movie. The movie had it where this guy had created this device. He saved memories. And so he would save the memories in the capsule. And say, for example, you lost a loved one. You would go into his tank. He will hook you up to a machine and you can replay the memory. So therefore, if you lost a loved one or if you had a victorious moment in your life and you wanted to relive it again, that was your moment. One thing I can say about movies is that they're always giving you a prelude to what's going to happen. So it's like, I'm not completely shocked. Not at all, but I am. Now, here's the thing that I'm thinking about. Wait. Let me finish. Let me tell you some more stuff. This is the thing I'm thinking about. If you can stream music and stuff, does that mean that somebody can hack into your brain? Could you imagine that? Could you imagine if somebody can go into your computer, if we're at the stage right now, we can manipulate images in their face. What can I manipulate your mind to be thinking? What could I program you to do? Because now we're talking about the functionality of our body. How do you describe that? What if there was a malfunction? I have to read some more. Is it controlled by a battery? What if the battery dies? I'll tell you some more information. Another thing that one could put together is that he's offering a level of healing. You blind, now you can see, you can't hear, now you can. People will give up almost anything if they're desperate enough. We know this to be true. And I think it's like, can you imagine the type of power that one has that holds with that? It's almost like, are you God now? Like, what are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to put up for a new chance at life? A new chance at life, truly, like your body. Not like, oh, I'm going to get some money. Oh, this opportunity, like new parts of your body. Now, furthermore, I'm curious to know, how much is this going to cost? Who's going to be able to afford it? Now, you remember years ago, Barbra Streisand, she cloned her dog. What was it, 2018? Now, the thing is, when she cloned her dog, they said that, I believe I read somewhere, of course, the dog didn't have the same type of personality. So that goes back to the very first point that I made. It said, what if somebody is going back in there and reprogramming your brain? What if you have a short? We know what happens when you have a chemical imbalance. Now we talking about a malfunction? Hey, what would you do? What would you do? Let me know. Would you get this brain chip? We don't know how much it's going to cost yet, but we know that they're starting the trial now. Are you up for it? I'm not judging because, hey, we're talking about a second chance at life. We're talking about a new possibility. Okay? Now, I want to talk to you about something else that's a possibility or there's talks about happening in Florida. So the Republicans down there are gathering up and they are to ban LGBTQ plus discussions in schools.
Hey guys, it's Jada Michael.
Hey everybody, it's your boy Jaden Brown. You're tuned in with Dawn Dai.
Get your dose of vitamin D with Dawn Dai and get excited about your life.
Watch out there.
So there's a parental rights and education bill, also known as the Don't Say Gay bill, that seeks to ban discussions of sexuality and gender identity in Florida schools. The ban bans teachers from discussing topics that are, quote unquote, not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students. According to the bill, parents can take legal action against the child's school district and be awarded damages if they believe any of its policies infringe on their, quote unquote, fundamental right to make decisions regarding the upbringing and control of their children. Now, in case you're wondering, this bill is going to affect kids that are from the ages of kindergarten through 7th grade. Other advocates have criticized the language of one of the Florida bill's provisions, which would require educators and administrators to effectively out known LGBTQ plus students to their parents without their consent. What do I mean by that? So basically, if you're in the school system, right, and say, I guess they're having the education and say that all of a sudden we find that in the discussion, say if the child maybe presents as a male but identifies as a female. Now this child is having some type of trauma or some type of feeling and discontent, the teacher has to make the decision whether or not to tell the parents. But what happens if the parents aren't okay with this? Now we've caused friction in the household. So it's almost like a tug of war situation because how do we make room for things to coexist? Who's right, who's wrong in this situation? Now, one thing that I did think was interesting is that Florida is one of the schools that does not require to teach sexual education. So I think that goes into a different parameter of what we're talking about as what is okay and what's not okay and what's the norm for that area, that region. But I'm just curious, would you be opposed to that? Do you think it would make a difference if people knew that they existed? You know, this girl once said, she said, you can't be what you cannot see. And if you're in school and you can't see yourself, how can you be who you're meant to be? That furthermore, have you heard of the Trevor Project? It's a nonprofit organization focused on suicide prevention among the LGBTQ plus youth. And it found that LGBTQ plus youth who had access to spaces, remember I said we making room in 2022, all right? Access to spaces that affirm their sexual orientation and gender identity reported lower rates of attempted suicide. People are taking their lives. So is it a matter of fact of knowing that I exist, knowing the fact that I'm possible and that I'm okay, knowing that I'm a secret? But I see in this sense of when we're talking about kindergarten through 7th grade, is it appropriate? But then you'll hear that people who have came out said, I've known I was gay since I was a child. I've known this is what I have identified. And it's like, man, could you have had that moment to see yourself? You could have been what you've always wanted to be. Also, let me just say this. I'm just reading this now. They also found that LGBTQ plus youth who learned about LGBTQ plus issues or people in classrooms had 23% lower odds of reporting suicide attempts in the last 12 months. So if you are opposed to this, right? Are you actually informed as to what's going to be taught about gender and sexuality? Because sometimes we're so quick to just refute something and it's like, okay, well, let's go in there and get the flavor. Let's put the ingredients together and let's see what's what. Because perhaps there's something that you can learn. Because it's not like it doesn't exist. It's not like your child can't step out. It's not like your child may not have a friend. It's not like you may not have a cousin, a brother, a uncle, a sister, a brother, or maybe even you. Just keeping it real, okay? So I guess it would be important to do the research, because it can be confusing as a child. Maybe not understanding why you like to dress a certain way, but creating space to say it is okay, that you're not a secret. But just like with anything, right? Just like you have to be old enough to drive, right? Just like they say, heavy is the head that wears the crown. When you ask for a lot, you have to have the capacity to hold it. So at the age of, what is kindergarten? 5? 4 or 5? At the age from 5 to about 12, 13, do you need to know? Do you know? I feel like, you start getting interested in who you like, middle school, grade school at a young age. What's too young? Who's to teach what? More importantly, how do we create the space and make room? That's what I really want to talk to you about. And I think if we kind of brought things more to the surface, things could change. All right. So talk about change. I want to talk to you about something else that has to breathe to the surface. This is really dear to me. I may have mentioned it, I may have not, but I came across this story about child abuse. It's big to me. It's big to me because I feel like children are so precious and children need to be protected. Okay? And there's a story that came out. I don't know if you've heard of the rapper Big Doodie Lo and his ex-girlfriend FTN Bae. There was a big story that came out where there were some false sexual assault allegations against her 5-year-old son.
Hey everyone, I'm OT.
And I'm D.
And we are investors in 𝘗𝘪𝘵 Wine Company.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Vitamin D with Dawn Dai podcast. Available wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
So, FTN Bae, she is a rapper, a dancer, a social media celebrity, also known as Curly Red. And she accused her ex-lover, Big Doodie Lo, of sexually assaulting her 5-year-old son, Wesley. Now, David Salisbury, aka that's Doodie Lo's government name, there was a test where FTN Bae, she had put up, or I shouldn't say test, there was a post that she put up on Instagram. And I'm just going to read an excerpt from the post. She says, "What you're hearing is my 5-year-old son, Wesley, cried to me about what my ex-boyfriend, David, did to him. For the last 2 months, my son was pooping in his pants. It was so bad I had to put diapers back on him. October 1st, my son finally told me that what had happened to him. I'm thankful to God because a lot of kids don't speak up because they were scared, just like my son. I have been dealing with this for almost a month, and it's been the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life, and I will not remain quiet for one more second." On August 6th, I had a show in Orlando. And OTF, Doodie Lo, was at my house along with my roommate and my son and his 3-year-old cousin. Once I left, this sick man welted 3 screws that he found in my toolbox and shoved them up my son's anus. Scared and afraid, my son hid the screws outside so he couldn't find it and do it again. And he never told me about it. He was trying to be so tough to deal with this for 2 months, and it clearly was affecting him. Never in a million years would I think that this would be my story. My boyfriend sexually assaulting my son. My son and my life will never be the same. This is not sympathy post or a clout post. This is simply me, a heartbroken mother who is doing everything I can to do justice for my son. While I'm patiently waiting for the police to complete their investigation, I needed to speak up and expose the sick man to warn other females with their kids and maybe other girls who dealt with this with him should talk to their kids. This couldn't have been his first time, but he picked the right family to F with. You just never know who people really are and what they are capable of. Stay blessed. Wow. Okay. Now, furthermore, Big Doodie Lo took a lie detector test, and it said that he was not lying. He passed it. FTN Bae, she took a lie detector test, and it said that she wasn't lying about the fact that her son told her that she was assaulted. Now, here's the thing. The thing that's so interesting is that after all this took place, it is alleged that FTN Bae's son admitted to lying because he was embarrassed about pooping in his pants and didn't want to tell the truth. Listen, hey, 5 years old. This is the part that disturbs me, because when we talk about a child, this child is so precious. At 5 years old, what do you know about somebody shoving something up your anus? Huh? Did we ever think about where would a child get that from? Why would you even make something up like that? I don't know if there was anything out there of saying that if there were any scars or bruises or anything to his anus or to his rectum. But I think that's the thing that's interesting. And I think that's what should be explored furthermore. Because this is a child that we're talking about. And it's almost like, well, how do we get to the point that a child felt so embarrassed to make up a story? I'm not saying kids do not lie, but these are things that we have to take, we have to take serious. And a couple things that FTN Bae has said that really stood out to me is that we have to talk to our kids, and we have to continue to talk to our kids. And that's why I'm even wondering, when we talk about Florida and this bill, is this something that we need to talk to kids about? Just to talk, to have the conversation, to know that it's okay to speak up. Especially in my generation. I say my generation, I'm an 80s baby. And I feel like my mom had me a little later in life. So with her generation, they didn't say too much. My mama didn't talk to me about sex. I meant to say it in the story. So I'm wondering if there were things that I may have missed out on that hindered me. And so I think that it's so important to communicate. Hell, this whole thing has been about communication, right? If it wasn't the first story up here talking about LGBTQ communicating in the school systems, to the brain chip communicating to our bodies, and now we have why it's so important to talk to our kids. And the thing about it too that stood out in this story is that this was her boyfriend. How many people are just leaving their kids with random people? And I say random meaning you never know who's capable of what. Because it could be your boyfriend, or it could be your sister or your brother. But it's starting to think about, you can't just leave your kids with everybody. And clearly this baby was 5 years old, but I think it's so important to make sure that if you do leave your children with somebody, that they can speak and they can communicate. Because my main concern right now, when I look at this story, is that why would this child lie about this? Huh? Where did you get that from? Why would you even think to stick anything in your anus? Why? At 5 years old, I don't even know if I discovered my anus. To know that anything is going up in there. That's what's important. So I'd say this is interesting. And whether or not was FTN Bae wrong for just going on social media and blasting? I don't know. She made a comment. She did what any mother would do. She looked at it. She was standing up for her son. And she said, wait a minute, this is my baby, which I think is important, because on the flip side, you hear a lot of parents, a lot of mothers. I even have it posted up on my Instagram account, not speaking up for the children and saying, oh, I didn't know. How did you not know? I mentioned it before. If your mother or your parent or whoever your guardian is came in the house, you can tell the sound of the jingle in their keys. You can look at a friend and hear the sound in their voice. You can see it in their eyes. So to act like there is nothing that has changed or nothing didn't change, come on. Let's just be honest about it, okay? So those are some stories that I wanted to shed some light on, and that is what's happening with that. I love to hear from you. You can send an email over to VitaminD@DawnDai and let me know how you feel about these stories, okay? Because this is what we're talking about. Now, Jeremiah's in here. He's adjusting the camera, but I got his time for to do the Vita chest, okay? I got him running to the other studio. We're going to get to a point where it's going to be like one major studio, or the channel, or digitally, or no. What's going to happen is next studio, because, I'm already claiming this. Perhaps the cameras, we'll have probably a separate team, or the cameras can be controlled in that room. That would be dope. That's what I'm speaking into. So he's back over there. I got the Vita chest. I told you what's happening. So here's the next thing. Okay, I'm opening the Vita chest. I freaking love that. All right, let's see what we got. Let's get these improv skills together. This is why I love the groundlings, because I can just pick stuff up and just talk about it. What is my word from the Vita chest? Endurance. What? Catch it. Yo, this what you see right here, this endurance of doing this podcast, this is endurance right there. So to me, immediately when I thought about endurance to me is like, you got to be able to weather the storm. It's to keep on keeping on. It's to fall down 7 times and you decide to get up 8. It's about showing your grace to know that you don't have to be great to get started. You just got to start to be great. I was just thinking that don't confuse the lack of experience with being a failure. Endurance is just if you have the know-how to keep on keeping on. And I think when I think about my life and just where I am right now and the working out and how I'm pushing myself to go further, to go deeper, to build up my stamina so I can be up to par to do what I got to do. That's mentally, that's physically, that's spiritually, because all of it's being tested. And my endurance tells me that if I can conquer me versus me, what can I not do? If you can handle you, right? What can't you do, boo? Endurance is staying in the race. And understand the finish line ain't there until it's over. So as long as you keep going, you're going to be all right. You can do it whatever the weather. Yeah. That's what I'm giving for endurance. What can you handle? What can you endure? Yeah, I like that. We got to have some endurance for this life, you know? Because you're asking to be great. You're asking for peace. You're asking for abundance. And you're going to have to work for it. And sometimes, or not sometimes, oftentimes, slow and steady wins the race. And when we talk about repetition, how you got to do something over and over. In fact, like I'm studying boxing right now. And, you know, we're doing a jabs, cross jab, lower jab, you know, duck, slide, slip, slide, slip. And it's like, he's like, Dawn, once you get it, it's just a movement. It's just repetition. You just got to endure it. Keep it going. And I mean, my stomach be going off, my arms be going off, but I'm about to get fine. But know that you can endure whatever it is. That's what I really want to say. Anyway, okay, time for some housekeeping. Jeremiah, we gotta get a sound effect for housekeeping. Like shh, 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 shh. Like something that sounds like it's clean but it gotta be cool though. Nothing. Okay, he shook his head. All right, so hope you enjoyed the show. We talked about what's happening. If you would like to be on the show, or perhaps you have an idea about someone that needs to be interviewed, I would love for you to email us, VitaminD@DawnDaiSpeaks.com. Okay? And also, you can send an email to that same address if you have an advice letter. You know, I do advice letters where I give people advice on their love, on their careers, on situations, like whatever. And I tell people all the time, well, I'm all about inspiring and motivating, ensuring that you live life on purpose and for a purpose. What do I say? If you want to be better and you want to do better, you're going to have to be able to see better. And that's going to require shedding the light. And sometimes shedding the light is going to show you some not so pretty or cute parts about situations. But I'm here to keep it real with you. Okay? So don't confuse my realness with like me badgered. It's just because I want to be real with you. Also, if you've enjoyed this, we are building the subscriber base. You know, I say this is my dream. There's everything on it. So tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend about a friend that Dawn Dai got a podcast, to check out Vitamin D with Dawn Dai. And get this, you can catch it wherever you get your favorite podcast, whichever platform, like I'm there, Vitamin D with Dawn Dai. Okay? So check us out. Give us that support. We love it because we're taking this to infinity and beyond. I told you, I have no intentions of going anywhere fast. I'm going to be here for a long, long, long time. Long time. So let's get the community together. Let's shed the light, right? Just give me the light. And just give me the light. Just, okay. Also, I want you to follow us, Vitamin D. We're on all social media. We have our social media accounts. VitaminDDawnDai. Okay? You can check out some clips from the interviews, some inspirational quotes, like all kinds of great stuff, actually. All highlights of what happens in here, and even some of our great guests, okay? And also, if you like some vitamin D outside of the vitamin D, like the actual vitamin D, like me, Dawn, I want to encourage you to follow me on social media. I'm everywhere at Dawn Dai Speaks, okay? Well, it's a new year. It's the first episode, Vitamin D in Studio E. We did it. We made it. Can I get a round of applause? We did this. Yeah. Hey. Can't wait. We got some exciting stuff. Some good guests, some great conversations, and we're just up leveling. You know, I always say I'm in the business of making dreams come true. And I damn sure ain't gonna forget about mine. So until next time, always remember, you are your greatest asset. I'll holla.
Get your vitamin D right here with me and get excited